Today, we're going to be dealing with a very boring but very important topic: how to actually wrap cables correctly. Now, first things first, if you see one of your volunteers ever wrapping a cable around their elbow, stop them immediately, say, sorry, you can't wrap cables today until you learn how to do it the over-under way. I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but I'm being serious. That will ruin your cables and make your life so much harder in the long run. Wrapping cables the right way has three main benefits in my mind. One, it's actually easier on your cable and will help it last longer, because when you use the elbow technique or other techniques of wrapping cables that are not the over-under, you end up actually twisting the wires inside and damaging them over time. This will make your cables last a lot less amount of time. Two, your cable wraps will probably be smaller, smoother, nicer to look at, and hang up better. We've all seen those cable wraps that are all twisted up on themselves. Those just are not conducive to storage. And three, it'll actually make your life a lot easier when it comes time to run cables the next time. Cables wrapped with the over-under technique lay flatter, they don't twist, and they actually go where you want them to go. Now, this particular technique is a little bit tricky when you first see it, but once you learn it, you won't wrap cables another way ever again. Also, it actually ends up being extremely fast, and you can get pretty quick at it and make the time spent wrapping cables much shorter. So, how do you actually do it? Well, let's get a close-up of me wrapping this cable and I will show you. Okay, so I've got a cable here, it's been wrapped very nicely, and because of that, it means I can throw it out, and no matter what, this will not get tangled. So I can pull it all back now, and you see I don't have any knots in it whatsoever. This means the cable has been wrapped correctly. If you don't wrap it correctly, what you'll end up with is either a cable that is tangled or one that doesn't actually wrap super nicely. So right now I'm just doing the over method. And honestly, if I'm gonna pick a secondary method, this is gonna be the one. But you can see even as I'm wrapping it, it's getting twisted all up on itself. And then if I throw this out and then pull it back, it definitely doesn't come back quite as smoothly. It's getting tangled up as I go, which you may not be able to see, but I can. So to wrap a cable over under, what you're gonna do is start with it in your left hand, or your non-dominant hand, I should say, pointing out away from you. Then with your next hand, you're just gonna try to make a loop. Kind of pick it up and pull it in towards itself. Now you can see this isn't laying super nicely. So you can kind of sometimes just let the cable tell you which way it wants to go. If we just kind of flip that over 180 degrees, great, it'll lay flat. So this is what would be an over wrap. So essentially, this cable that I'm picking up just goes over this one. And by over, I really just mean next to, right? Because that's an over, the next wrap we're going to do is an under. And the best way that I find to do the unders is to flip this hand around so that your thumbs are pointing opposite directions on the cable. Slide down the cable and then bring it up. Now, if you just join your hands like this obviously doesn't work. Instead, when you get here, you twist your wrist so that your thumbs meet up. So you twist so your thumbs meet up, and that makes the cable loop perfectly here. And to see it from this side, that ends up, the cable actually goes under itself and then lays against the original loop. So that's an under. Then we do an over. So again, your thumb is facing the same direction. You slide down, you grab it, and you wrap over, and then flip your hand and twist to go under. Now you can see here, this is getting kind of wonky here. And that's because this cable was not wrapped this way before. So it's not actually getting picked up in a super smooth way. So to do that, you can sometimes just kind of twist and shake out the cable until it gets into the right shape. And then it should go perfectly into that loop, into that under loop. So because this is the over-under method, you're just going to keep doing that over and over again. And again, because I wrapped this cable incorrectly the last time, I'm having more trouble wrapping it this time, which is why, see, we'll come up across things like this. This is why you want to make sure that you wrap your cables this way every single time, because then they will lay flat every single time and wrap up much more easily. There it is, the last one is under. And now some people will take this and they'll try to wrap it through and tie a knot or something like that. Do not do that. Instead, invest in some Velcro ties and actually use this to wrap up the cable. Ideally, this is on the last little bit, but it got kind of lost here. So just take that and wrap up your cable. Beautiful. Now this will deploy perfectly every single time, and as long as you wrap it over and under every single time, it will never get tangled and it will lay out perfectly flat. Before I show you the other angle of me wrapping this cable, I just want to remind you about my free camera settings cheat sheet. It's down in the description. It's free for anybody who just can't remember how the different settings interact with the image they're getting out of their camera. There's a lot of things you have to remember, and if you're not really a video person, it can seem a little daunting. So click on the link below, get that free cheat sheet, thank me later. So again, because I wrapped this up the right way, I should be able to throw it and nothing will get tangled, even as I pull it all the way back. This may look like a tangle, but there you go, it just resolved itself. So let's wrap it from this angle too, just so that you can see what that looks like. So again, if I try to go over, it doesn't want to behave. So this is going to start out as an under loop right here. And then we just go down the road. We go over, and then we go under. Over, under. This is a little bit more difficult because I'm doing it around a camera tripod, but as you can see, it's still wrapping up very nicely here. And there we go, perfectly wrapped. The beauty of this method is that you can do it with any type of cable or garden hose or whatever. So I have this giant orange extension cord. Same thing, I can pull it in and wrap it over under the same way. Now, the size of your coil might differ as you're doing one of these wraps, but the overall method stays exactly the same. In this way, you prolong the life of your cables. You make sure that they lay flat every time. You have very neat looking coils, and you just save yourself a lot of headache. Boom. That's a beauty. Well, I hope that was helpful to you guys and that you learned how to wrap a cable the right way. It's gonna take some time to practice it, but once you get the hang of it, you'll never wrap another cable a different way ever again. And it's not just XLR cables. It's HDMI, it's SDI, it's extension cords, it's hoses, it's your phone charger. Really, any cable that you have in your life, this is the way to wrap it to prolong its life and just make life so much easier on yourself. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with your tech team, share it with your volunteers, share it with that one guy who randomly wraps cables even though he has no business doing that. We all have those people, right? And check out some of my other videos if you're interested in how to live stream your church on a budget. Until next time.